Across the street again, engine off, windows dark. He grabbed a flashlight and stepped outside, heart pounding. But the car sped off the second he crossed the yard. The next morning, a plain envelope appeared in his mailbox. No stamp, no return address. Inside was a black and white photocopy of one of the yearbook photos with a red circle around Emily's face. Underneath, typed in all caps, "*stop looking." That's when Mark realized this wasn't just about a missing girl anymore. Someone didn't want her found. Someone had been watching closely enough to know his every move. He took the letter to the police, but without fingerprints or a direct threat, there wasn't much they could do. Could be a prank, the officer shrugged. Mark knew better. Determined not to stop, he reached out to a local investigative journalist named Rachel. She had covered Emily's disappearance back in the 90s and remembered the case well. When he told her about the recent events, her voice dropped. "I got a message last week too," she said, "but mine said T was never missing." She was *T. Mark met Rachel at a quiet diner just outside town. She slid a folder across the table. Inside were copies of school visitor logs from 1990. Photos of staff who worked there, and something else. A name? Thomas Greer. He'd been the drama teacher at the time, retired now. But Rachel's research turned up something strange. Greer had never been formally employed by the school district. No records, no payroll, nothing. It was as if he was never supposed to be there at all. They tracked down an address listed under an old alias, tucked deep in the woods 2 towns over. Mark hesitated, but Rachel insisted on going with him. What they found was a run-down cabin. Inside, walls were covered in old school photos, some from different years, different schools even, different states. Faces of children circled in red ink. And there, on a dusty shelf, was the missing yearbook. Open to the page with Emily. A door creaked behind them. Greer stepped into the room, older now, hair thin and white, but eyes still sharp. Mark's voice cracked as he demanded answers. Greer only smiled faintly. "She came to me," he said. She didn't feel safe at home. She wanted to disappear. Mark's world spun. That's a lie. But then Rachel found something else, an old camcorder, tapes inside. They watched in stunned silence as images flickered to life. Emily, alive, older, speaking directly into the camera. "If you're seeing this, I chose to leave. I had to. There were things happening no one would believe." She never finished the sentence. The tape cut off. Later, police took Greer into custody. He was connected to other missing teens, some found, some still gone. But Emily, no one knew where she went after that video. One final twist came days later, letter, postmarked just days before. No name, just a short message. *Dad, I'm safe. Let it go. Taken. Mark sat on his porch with the letter in his hands, reading it over and over. *Dad, I'm safe. Let it go. No return address, no details, just those few words. But it was her handwriting. He'd recognize it anywhere. It wasn't the reunion he had dreamed of for 22 years, but it was something. Proof that Emily was alive, that she'd made it out. Somehow, police never uncovered the full truth behind what happened in 1990. Greer was charged in connection with several missing persons cases, but when it came to Emily, the story remained a mystery. Mark learned that she'd used a different name while staying near the school. She had stayed just long enough to be seen, but never found. Why she chose to vanish, or what she was running from, remained unanswered. And maybe that was the point. Maybe she didn't want to be found, not until she was ready. Rachel published a story that reopened a few cold cases and helped families still searching for their own answers. Mark, on the other hand, chose to step back from the spotlight. He didn't want interviews. He didn't want headlines. He just wanted peace. Sometimes he still wonders what life might have been like if Emily had stayed. He wonders if she'll ever walk up that driveway again. But most days, he takes comfort in knowing that she survived, that somewhere out there, his daughter is living a life she chose. In the end, the yearbook that sparked it all was returned by mail, no note included. Just one photo circled in pen. A reminder that even in a world full of shadows, a small trace of truth can still shine through. And sometimes, the answers we're looking for don't come all at once. They come when we're finally ready to see them. It was a quiet spring morning in 2012 when Mark Ellis pulled an old, dusty yearbook from the back of his closet. He hadn't opened it in decades, not since his daughter, Emily, vanished without a trace in 1990. Back then, she was only 15. One minute, she was heading out the front door for school like any other day, and the next, she was gone. No notes, no phone calls, no clues. The police did everything they could, but the trail went cold fast. Over time, neighbors stopped asking. Friends stopped calling. But Mark never stopped hoping. For 22 long years, that hope was all he had. Birthdays came and went. Holidays passed in silence. Every face in a crowd, every phone call at night, he wondered if it might finally be her. But nothing. Then, one ordinary day, while looking for an old photograph, he opened that yearbook. Just a moment of nostalgia, until his eyes landed on something that made his hands freeze and his breath catch. There, hidden in plain sight, was a photo. At first glance, it looked like any other class picture, teenagers smiling, arms draped over shoulders, that typical early 90s charm. But something about one face pulled him in. A girl in the background, slightly out of focus, wearing a necklace that only one person in the world had. His daughter, Dot. Was it just a look-alike? Cruel trick of memory. Or had Emily somehow slipped into the background of her own disappearance? Mark's heart raced as questions flooded his mind. Why was she there? Who took that picture? And, more importantly, what happened after that moment was captured? He didn't know it yet, but opening that yearbook would set off a chain of events he never could have imagined. Mark stared at the yearbook photo, his hands trembling. He hadn't seen Emily's face in so long, not like this. The girl in the background was older than she should have been for that class photo, and the necklace. It was unmistakable, a silver locket with a small star etched into it. Emily's grandmother gave it to her just weeks before she disappeared. Mark had always believed she was wearing it the day she went missing. Seeing it again felt like being pulled into the past. He flipped to the index, trying to find names, searching the class list for anything familiar. The photo wasn't even on a page dedicated to her grade. That made things even stranger. Why would her face appear in a photo from a different class? As he traced the image with his finger, he couldn't shake the feeling that it wasn't a coincidence. This yearbook, this photoette, was trying to tell him something. Memories came flooding back. The day Emily vanished had started like any other. She left the house wearing her denim jacket, backpack slung over one shoulder, music in her ears. She said goodbye like she always did. Nothing unusual, but by dinner time, she still wasn't home. Mark and his wife Linda called friends, the school, even hospitals. The police got involved by nightfall. There were searches, posters, news coverage, but nothing stuck. It was as if the earth had opened and swallowed her whole. Now, staring at this picture, Mark wondered, had she been closer than they ever knew? Had someone kept her hidden, or had she chosen to disappear? He had no answers, only more questions. And deep down, a quiet dread began to grow. If that was really Emily, then where had she been all these years? And why hadn't she come back? Mark couldn't sleep that night. The image of the girl in the yearbook haunted him. He tried telling himself it was just a trick of the eyes, a resemblance at most. But deep down, he didn't believe that. The necklace was too specific, too personal. And the more he stared at the photo, the more convinced he became was Emily. The next morning, he dug through old boxes in the garage, pulling out everything from her school years. Notes, photos, drawings, anything that might connect to the yearbook photo. He even found an old camcorder and watched tapes from her last few birthdays. The way she laughed, the way she tilted her head when someone called her name matched the girl in the picture. But it still didn't answer the question that tore at him. Where had she been? Mark decided to track down the photographer listed in the yearbook credits. Maybe they remembered something, anything. But when he called the school, he hit a dead end. The photographer, a student named Daniel Wyatt, had graduated a year later and moved out of state. No forwarding info, no social media. It was like he'd disappeared too. Meanwhile, Linda Marks's ex-wife wasn't as convinced. She had grieved differently, buried the pain deeper. To her, reopening this mystery felt dangerous. "What if it's not her?" she said, voice quiet over the phone. "What if it breaks you all over again?" But Mark couldn't let it go. Not now. So he started looking up names from the yearbook, reaching out to classmates one by one. Some had no memory of Emily at all. Others vaguely remembered rumors, strange things back then. Like whispers about a girl who wasn't supposed to be at school that day. And then one classmate said something that chilled him. "I remember that necklace. But the girl wearing it." I don't think she was ever a student. Mark's heart pounded as he replayed that last conversation in his head. She wasn't a student here. The words echoed louder than anything else. If Emily wasn't enrolled, how did she end up in the photo? Why was she even on school grounds that day? And who else knew? He went back to the yearbook again, this time, scanning every page, every group shot, every club, every candid hallway photo. And then he saw her again. In a photo from the drama club, this time turned slightly to the side. Same hair, same necklace, same distant, almost guarded expression. She wasn't listed by name. No caption. Just there. Like a ghost slipping through someone else's memory. Mark circled the photo and started digging deeper. He contacted former staff, teachers, even a retired janitor who vaguely remembered a quiet girl who came and went but wasn't on any list. No one could explain how she got into the building, much less into multiple yearbook photos. Someone had to know. Someone had to let her in. Then Mark got an email. An address he didn't recognize. The subject line simply read, "Asterisk, you're looking in the right place." Attached was a single image, another yearbook scan, one he hadn't seen before. A theater production page. On stage, mid-scene, was the same girl, Emily. Only this time, someone had written something in pen next to her. 2 words, barely legible, asterisk, not missing. Asterisk. Mark's hands went cold. Was she living under a different name? Was she being hidden, or had she chosen this life herself? The questions kept piling up, but now he wasn't the only one digging. A car started parking across the street from his house late at night. His emails were glitching. And one day, when he returned home from the grocery store, the yearbook was gone. Here. Mark stood frozen in his doorway, staring at the empty space on the bookshelf where the yearbook had been. He checked the floor, the couch, even under cushions. Nothing. He hadn't told anyone it was there, hadn't even mentioned it in his recent calls. But now it was gone. Someone had been inside his home. He called Linda right away, his voice tight with panic. "It's missing, the yearbook. Someone took it." She didn't respond at first. Then, barely above a whisper, she said, "Mark, someone broke into my place too. Nothing stolen, but Emily's baby photo. The one on the mantle. It's gone." That night, Mark didn't sleep. Every sound outside made him flinch. The same car was parked,